The path to a multi-million dollar empire is not easy. It demands hard work, sacrifice, but above all, action. In this episode of the Collins Mayaki CEO Mentor Series, you're going to hear from top-level CEOs who know what it takes to get the work done, who know what it means to build a business that outlives them. Mentorship is needed now more than ever.
What advice would you give to people?
The only thing you can do wrong is nothing. Business is fluid. Markets change, customers change, everything changes.
Just do it.
If you don't want to get punched in the face, don't start a business. Every punch you land, you get 99 in the face. If you do not know how to sell, find someone that does.
So you just don't know who they know.
Anyone who wants to talk to you, you talk to them. Life doesn't have to be this hard.
You're going to want to watch this episode because it's going to be legendary.
Welcome to the CEO Mentorship Podcast Series. Today we've got a special guest, CEO founder of the Laughing Hottest, Jeff Bogensberg. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Colin. Thanks for having me. I think we're going to have a fun time today.
I hope so.
Yes.
Jeff, let's start with the last name.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the last name?
It's Bogensberger, and it's Germanic background. My dad was Austrian. So if you're in Austria, there's probably a lot of Bogensbergers. But he immigrated to Canada. My mom, his wife there, also German background. So I grew up in Canada, but it's a Germanic background, Austrian background.
You know, speaking of the German background, growing up, I always heard, Germans, German machines and all that stuff. Germans are quite strict and things like that. Would you say you've got that attributes of the German machine in you?
Yes, but not the stereotypical German. My dad, he was the other type of stereotypical Austrian German, which is just a lot of fun. The Ein Prosit, zig zig, oi oi oi. Just he laughed a lot. He had a great sense of humor. But between my mom and my dad, they're easily the hardest two workers I've ever worked with in my life. That includes I did a year as a commercial fisherman off the coast of Canada. Never seen anyone work harder than my mom and dad. But one thing they taught my brothers along the way is make sure you smell the roses and have a bit of fun too.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Congratulations of, always being a CEO that have been running a fantastic business, the Laughing Hottest. Tell us a little bit about your business and what made you go about into first the name. How did you come about that name?
Okay, so everybody asked me that, and I'd like to tell you it was some divine intervention or something like that, but it's a lot simpler than that. And anyone who's ever done marketing or anything like that, you play around with names and then eventually you nail one and you just go, yep, that's it. And how I got to that point was I knew I wanted a character because, and I'll explain a little bit more about the Laughing Otter in a second. The idea was to build a brand much like Disney that's synonymous with good, doing good things, having fun, just making people happy. And I wanted a character that could be used like Mickey Mouse. So we have a number of things coming out over the next 6 months that highlight that. And eventually the Laughing Otter he'll have friends, he'll have other characters that could all be used the same way Disney uses Mickey Mouse. So I knew I wanted a character, and I guess lack of creativity, I went, well, animals seem to work. So I went on Google and I just searched the world's cutest animals. And the first one that came up was the sea otter. And the description was a playful, fun, communal animal, something along those lines. I went, well, that's pretty good. Then I went to GoDaddy and I just started searching all the adjectives. I went the purple otter, the orange otter, the happy otter, the walking otter, the running otter, and all these things. And the laughingotter.com was still available. And it worked out that way. But it's been such a perfect name. And the amount of people who have come up to me and said, the sea otter is my favorite animal. Now, personally, I will admit this in public here, I had no feelings towards sea otters one way or another. they're nice animals, but no different
I
than a
guess
horse.
I'm going to scrap that question out because I had the other question, like, what relation do you have with those animals?
No, as a
Gotcha.
commercial fisherman, they were playing around the boat and stuff, and
Got it.
but I liked watching them as much as any other animal. I like animals and all that, but what's been great is the amount of people who verified the brand by saying, I just love sea otters. They do such cool things. And then I've learned a lot about the sea otter as well during this process that I didn't know. Like, they do really cool things. Like, they'll hold on to each other in the ocean so they don't drift apart. They have a little pocket where they keep a stone that they use to crack shells and just cool things like that. So I guess they're kind of a cool animal, but that's how the name came and that's how the brand came. And then as far as the business goes, we just get involved with really anything that makes people have fun. And I want to stay middle of the road. So there's something for everyone with no hidden agendas, no affiliations with anything. It's just people having fun.
Give us an example of people having fun. Like, give us an existing gig, a sample, like, obviously without going to too much details, like, give us an example of people having fun. Because when you say fun could mean something different for everyone. I'm thinking fun, I'm thinking something else. I'm going, maybe I can't say that kind of fun. So give us.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's middle of the road, family fun. Nobody's we try really hard that we don't offend anyone. For example, last September, we had a huge event in LA where we brought 14 creator guitarists together to Hollywood. We did 5 days of guitar challenges that got over 30 million views. So I'm a big music fan. I play drums. That was awesome. We tie, like a lot of things that we do at the Laughing Otter, we try to tie it into a cause. So that one was tied into a great organization called Promise to Live, which is a suicide prevention organization. We live streamed one of the events that got 3 million views. So that'd be an example coming out in the next couple weeks, probably by the time people see this. A mobile game that's fun. We got an inspirational app that'll have not so much preaching stuff, but just lots of fun stuff that you can do in the morning when you wake up or last thing you go to bed. Instead of being on traditional social media or reading the news and getting angry.
So would you say it's more like affirmations and things like that?
Yeah.
Or
So that,
would you call it that?
Yeah, and then games you can play and polls and just fun stuff. So that's coming out. A big art project, working with a really cool artist that just got one of the, we got to look him up, Isan.art. He's got one of the coolest stories.
Say it again, Isan?
Yeah, Isan.art.
Isan.art.
He spent 20 years painting 2,000 paintings that all fit together that create a double-sided 17-story mural, and it looks like it's going to be built now in Hawaii. It's just a crazy inspirational story. It's called the Tower of Peace. I love crazy things that help the world, so we're doing that. What else have we got going on? Well, here in Australia, in Victoria, we got about 25, 30 sake wine tastings all over regional Victoria and all these pubs. So that's kind of cool. That'll be good fun. Yeah, that's just examples. It really is wherever I find or the team finds people doing interesting things that we can partner with. And yeah, it's our logo, our slogan is find your happy. So we want to find something for everyone.
Find your happy. I love
That's right.
that. Find your happy. You did say something that I really want to go deep into a little bit more. From when you decided that you know what, I'm going to go on this journey to become an entrepreneur, right? From the time you made that mental decision to you actually doing it, how long would you say that process took?
Okay, so I think I probably a little bit unique in that. Well, actually, probably not unique. I never knew my mom and dad to work for anyone else. They always had their own businesses. My uncles did, my brothers did. So I've been around entrepreneurship my whole life. The first thing I did, I was probably 6, 7 years old. I bought a whole bunch of maple syrup back in Canada. I put it in a backpack and I pedaled around the lake that we lived on and sold maple syrup to all these cottagers. So I've kind of been an entrepreneur my whole life, even though I've worked for other people. I've had a couple of businesses on the way, some little or more successful than others. And then, but even the roles I've done working for others have always been either sales, which is pretty much entrepreneurship because you got your own boss there, or managerial roles where I had a lot of autonomy of just to run my area by myself.
Fantastic.
And then what happened with the Laughing Otter, it was a real shift where a few things happened where I turned 50. Sadly, a friend of mine hung himself. I looked around at that time and I just saw so many people just struggling, and it's happening right now again. Like there's so much division and so much anger amongst people. I just saw an opportunity that we need something to combat that. People need to have fun again. And then with everything in my career where it was, I was like, well, you know what? The last third of my career has to be about more than just making money for other people or even for myself. There has to be more purpose built into it. So, and it's been great fun. It's been a challenge, but I will say openly, I meet more great people every day doing this than in my previous roles where it'd be one every 6 months kind of thing. I love what I do now.
Amazing. So it's basically your mission now to bring laughter to the world.
Yeah, laughter, fun, and just it's without like there's kind of there are three camps if you want to be happier. There's one camp that says if you want to be happy, follow this whatever, and it's attached to some other agenda. Then there's if you want to be happy, you need to be better. So if you want to be happy, all you got to do is be richer, thinner, smarter, traveling to better places with better looking people and eating in better restaurants and driving up in a better car, then you'll be happy. Or the third one is if you want to be happy, then all you got to do is go out in nature, do meditation, do yoga, eat alfalfa, be physically fit, make sure you hit the gym at 5 a.m. And again, it's just that whole lifestyle change. All of those things are fine for people, but then there's a gap, which is the everyday people like myself, who my happy is sitting around the fire with a bunch of mates or playing Lego with my son or going fishing, or that's enough for most people. So I want to create that reminder to people and give them ways to have fun. Like, come to one of our wine tastings, have a laugh, sit around and joke with your friends. You don't need to, you can do that anywhere. You can do it at a country pub or you can do it at the Champs-Élysées. It doesn't change. The real core importance thing is you're with your mates. You're with the ones you love. You're with the people you care about. So trying to remind people of that is like kind of that core mission of the Laughing Otter.
That's quite amazing. I do also wanted to touch on the fact that you mentioned that you grew up around entrepreneurs. So which made it quite easy for you to be able to make that jump and made it easy for you to be able to make those decisions that you needed to make, from, you searching the name of the business and going very, very quickly to register it on GoDaddy. Now, for new entrepreneurs that have never really, understood what the process looks like, that could be a little bit daunting. What advice would you give to people that have this idea or inspiration to start up a business? Like, what's your advice to them that they need to do now, or certain type of process they could take to start making that dream become a reality?
Right. The biggest one is counter to all the books that are out there, the movies, the media, whatever. Everybody makes it sound like business success is some sort of watershed moment or some miraculous thing that you just had this genius idea and then all of a sudden your business is just so successful, because how could it not? Because it's just a genius idea. That's not how it works. How it really works is every day you wake up and you start pulling levers, and you pull the lever and you just go, and at the end of the day you go, okay, what happened? And the next day you wake up and you go, all right, I need to pull these levers. And the point is, don't try to plan from now until you retire, Here's about how it works. My initial investor, he summed it up really well. I told him what I was about to, I told him it was a friend of mine from my MBA. We hadn't spoken about 20 years. We just reconnected through LinkedIn. And he's like, what are you up to? Said, well, I'm starting this new business and this is kind of the direction I'm heading. He goes, I'm in. And, he's had a couple of successful exits and he goes, I'm in. I said, well, do you want a business plan or anything like that? And this is the truest thing. And this is what every VC should learn is he said to me, he goes, a bit flattering. He said, I know you're a really smart guy. You're one of the smartest guys in our MBA. He said, I know what you're going to do. Whatever that you tell me today, 6 months from now will be fiction because that's how businesses run. You can give me anything on paper and you may as well, after that, you may as well throw it in the bin because what your company looks like 6 months from now better not look like what you think it is today. And that's the truth. Every day you meet someone, an opportunity presents itself. But if you're locked into a plan, then you'll miss out on opportunities. Business is fluid. Markets change, customers change, like everything changes. So if you're trying to plan it, it doesn't work. Now, on all of that, points of that is this is my war cry to myself. And when I had large teams, the only thing you can do wrong is nothing.
The only thing you can do wrong is nothing.
Yes.
I like that.
Because you can handcuff yourself. Like, obviously, you're basing things on some sort of logic and some sort of intuition or some sort of data, but you don't have the luxury to wait because you'll run out of money. Every single day, you better be moving forward. And as long as you're doing something every day and you're better than you were yesterday and tomorrow you're better than you were today, by the end of the month, you're 30 days better.
So basically, what I can gather from this is don't try to make it perfect. Don't get too caught up with trying to set up a perfect business plan. Yeah. Just do it.
Yeah,
regardless of the imperfection that's going to come across, that's going to happen. Do it and keep moving forward. And the only mistake you can make is not doing something, not doing anything.
Right.
Right?
So coincidentally, you said just do it.
Yep.
I've stolen that tagline from Nike.
Yep.
I have it on my whiteboard.
Yep. I got it on my bag too as well. Just do it.
Really is. Don't try to be perfect. Mm-hmm. Just jump in. Yep. Just do it. With some sort of rational thought. Like, obviously, don't be an idiot. If you plan it and you put some logic to it,
yep,
then just do it.
Yeah. I've also heard this saying that, I don't know where I heard it or maybe I read it somewhere. Someone was saying to me that, if you get someone that knows how to write a perfect business plan, in most cases, those people are not really good at business.
That's right.
And when you get a really, really good business person, they're not really good at writing a good business plan.
That's right. There are two types of people in this world.
Right.
There are people who are good at raising money, mm-hmm. and there are people who are good at running businesses. Mm-hmm. Because they're two different animals. Because a person raising money is only trying to convince somebody that they got some idea that can work for 2 or 3 years. A person who runs a business it has no end date. Like, I want to run a business. I don't want to exit. I want to hand it over to my son.
We're all going to exit either way.
Yeah. But
one way or the other, right?
But I still want the vision of my business to continue. My idea is not, well, if I do this for 3 years or 5 years or whatever, then somebody will come and buy it and then I can retire a millionaire. That's a different animal than someone who believes in business and loves the science of business.
You just mentioned a very good point, which I would love to touch on a little bit more. You said raise capital. Some people like raise capital. How do I go about raising capital? And people using fancy words, fancy terms. Okay. Angel investors. I need angel investors to start up my business. What's your take on that for people that are in that early stage of starting a business journey? What's your take on in regards to loans or raising capital?
Scrape every penny that you can on your own, and then go find customers. And if you need to build something, find customers that will build with you, will help you pay for it. Because here's the reality to all the listeners: VCs are like, I call them the blisters. And this is 30 years of startup experience. They're blisters. They show up when the hard work's done. There is no such thing as seed money or angel money unless you have friends and family that'll give you the money. Everybody wants to see traction. Nobody, they'll all say, oh yeah, we love to get in early. We love to get in early. Unless you have some amazing revolutionary idea that you already somehow managed to get a prototype for, you will not get money until you get initial traction. So for every meeting, this is really what I do, and this is I say this tongue in cheek. Every time I meet with a VC now, I have to do 100 push-ups.
Why is that? Please, I want to know.
Because I won't get any money. Well, I might now because I've focused on getting traction. But in the past, because I knew I wasn't going to get any money, so I may as well be fit. So go get customers. Find your customers, because you will not raise money. And where this really hit home for me, there was somebody said to me once, if you want to raise money or have a chance to raise money, you got to put 80% of your time into courting VCs. And then they might give you, a few $100,000. I went to myself, well, I've been in sales my whole life. If I put 80% of my time into sales, I'll generate more revenue than $250,000. Or like, I can sell as much as they'll give me, and then I'll still own 100% of my company, and I won't have somebody squawking in my ear how I'm supposed to run my business. Because part of there's a lot of heartache to entrepreneurship, but the best part about it is I get to make my decisions. So I don't want people telling me how to run my business. Now, the point is, go get customers, prove out your idea. And if it means you have to keep a job while you build so you can pay the bills, well, do that. Whatever you need to do to get to a certain level, because then at least when you're going out to raise money,
you got something to show.
Yeah, you have a bargaining chip.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you can show some sort of traction. Now, you did mention, again, you've got an advantage compared to most people. You grew up in a home where, you raised up, where mom and dad in entrepreneurial spirits. You probably started selling from the day you started talking, because, you heard mom and dad selling while you were in your mom's womb. For those of us out there that have no idea how to go about sales, because I understand what you're saying, like, focus on getting the customers. How do they go about acquiring these customers that you're talking about?
Here's the harsh reality. If you do not know how to sell, find someone that does, because there's a lot of great ideas out there that fail because they can't sell, and a lot of horrible ideas that are really successful because they can sell. The whole notion of if you build it, they will come, that's not true. You can have absolute garbage, but if you get out there and sell it enough, you'll survive. But you can build something beautiful, and if you never tell anybody, then
no one's going to know about it.
Right.
It's just like the saying, you could be the perfect salesman on a planet, but if you've got no digital footprints where people can easily find you, then you'll be the best salesman that no one knows about.
That's right. And I, when I was a sales director in that, I always said, I'd rather have a salesperson who talks to 100 customers and has a 10% close rate than someone who talks to 10 customers and has a 90% close rate, because I'm making more money. Now, obviously that's an extreme case, but the point is, get out there, and it's not that hard. There are really cost-effective lead generation tools, depending on what your industry is or what your business is. I use lead generators all the time.
Gotcha.
And I outsource them. There's really cost-effective ways that, you'll get those sales. And if you're passionate about what you do, this notion that salespeople are like, your stereotypical used car salesman kind of person, that's not true. The best salespeople speak from the heart and tell the truth and believe in what they're doing. So as long as you do that, just have a conversation with the potential customer and just tell them what you sell. If you do that right, it'll sell itself.
Right.
Otherwise, you don't have a business.
Right. But while I was listening to you speak on this, and I was thinking about some of the experiences I've gathered myself all through this journey of myself in terms of owning business. And I was thinking about a particular gentleman I came about that talking to me about climate change, global warming, and all that stuff. Now, you could tell this guy's quite passionate about saving the planet, saving the world, but he was a very crappy salesman. And I think that's the reason why climate change is not really moving, really, the awareness on climate change is not really making as much impact as it should. Because typically, when you get people talking about climate change on TV, what they're focusing on is talking about what are the aspect of destruction that's happening and blah, blah, blah. There is no kind of charisma to it. They're quite passionate about it, but they are not salespeople, right? Now, people that do have this type of attributes where they're really, really good. The other one I had was a really, really good chemist. I can tell he's got the passion in chemist, but it's really bad in sales. How do they go about doing that? Because some people know where their strength lies, and how do they go about selling their vision to someone else in a strategic way? Because you have to sell that dream to someone. If you can raise that capital to buy the leads from lead generation because you're bootstrapping this whole business, you need to get a salesperson that's going to come into your business to do the sales for you. What would be your number one tip to people like that are good at the core work but really bad in selling the dream to someone else?
Right. It is. First of all, you may hate it. It's like the best analogy I can give is people, if you want to be fit, you got to exercise. And you may hate exercise, but the reality is, if you want to be fit, you got to exercise. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to sell. And you may hate it, but you have to learn how to sell. And the reality is, it's not as hard as people make it, because there are little tricks that you can do, but the main thing is you just got to do it. And if you, just like going to the gym or exercising, the first day it's really hard, but the 30th day it's starting to get a little easier. And by 6 months, it's like you wonder, why was this so hard? And it's the same with sales. You'll find your niche. Now, if you have a unique product, that's actually really hard. Blazing trail, there's a misconception that if you're first, it's the easiest. No, actually, if you're the first, it's actually really, really hard, because you spend more time educating the market that they need something than actually selling something they already know they need. I was part of one of the fastest growing companies in Canada for a number of years. We basically, we didn't realize the monster we were going to slay. What we did was we just started, we kind of had theories on who might want this product. And then, I guess just being naive, we didn't know C-level people at Fortune 500 companies don't answer the phone. We didn't know that. So we called them. And guess what? They did answer the phone, because we were the only ones calling them. So we would call them. And here's the trick we learned. Find 3 things. And you got to there's a reason you started your business. What are the 3 main reasons you started that business? We solve this, 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 and this, or this is the 3 reasons why you should buy this. And you call up that CEO and go, hi, I'm from here. We do X, Y, and Z. And if you've done your research and your theories are correct, one or 2 or 3 of those things are going to hit true. And they'll say, yeah, come and see me. If you have a product that's going to solve a problem for them, or has reason for being, they want that problem solved. It's a thorn in their side. So if you're offering that, they'll give you an hour. Then you just got to be prepared. Rehearse your presentation. Be professional. Go in there. Be ready. Be prepared. If they give you an hour, don't waste it.
I got to agree with you, but at the same time, I disagree with people saying that they can't sell. I truly do believe everyone is selling, but they just don't know they actually sell. Right. From when a baby's born, the baby's selling to the mom. When the baby does those beautiful googly eyes, the mom, like we're all selling, but we just got to be more aware and strategic on how we go about doing it. So yeah,
Absolutely.
I really do agree with what you're saying. And when you look at the top, millionaires, billionaires all around the world, these guys, they all started off as being a salespeople. Look at Jeff Bezos, you look at Elon Musk, you look at founder of Apple as well, Steve Jobs. These are all incredible sales individuals.
Yeah.
Right. And you look at Bill Gates. I think Bill Gates is a gangster when it comes to sales. Like that guy started selling things that he didn't even own.
That's right.
He didn't even own it. Right. So I think you're right. The sooner we all get used to being comfortable in selling, and the only way you can get comfortable at it, as you said, you just got to do it over and over and over and over and over. You're going to get rejected. You're going to get doors closed in front of you. It's all part of the journey. It's all part of the process, right?
The reality is there's this misconception, especially in B2B sales. People are going to be rude to you. I've made thousands of cold calls in my life. I even spent 2 summer holidays in high school knocking on doors, selling home improvement products. Nobody has, I'm sure it's happened, but it would be under 20 people out of thousands that were really rude to me, especially in B2B sales, because if you have a reason for being and your product's good, the worst you'll get is, sorry, we got too much on our plate right now, or, call me in 6 months because it sounds interesting, but just not right now. Nobody's ever going to say, why are you calling me? Because they got a team of sales guys selling their products. Like I said, especially in B2B, everybody's selling. Otherwise, no doors would be opened.
Right. No, it's interesting you actually said that. When I look at myself, could it also be a generational thing? I don't know. Now, when you look at the world you grew up in and look at the world, you said you've got a son. How old is your son?
7.
7 years old. And you look at the world your son is growing in now. Back in my days when we wanted to approach a gal and we got used to rejection. No, get out of my face,
yes,
get out.
I did, yeah.
And you look at the upcoming generation, they don't approach gals. Would you say that also has some sort of, just the new world order we're living in now?
But yes, I think there's probably the circles I grew up in. I had a dad that was if in high school, if I said, "Hey, Dad, can I borrow $20? There's a party this weekend," he would be like, "Yeah, there's your boots. There's a construction site down the road.
Let's go. Go work."
I'm sure they need something cleaned up. But my dad, my dad was a great dad. My mom, they were great parents, but they really taught my brothers and I how to work. They also taught us that idea of no excuses. And there's things that this is about entrepreneurship. If you don't want to get punched in the face,
don't do it.
Don't start a business. I'm telling you. Because in the early years, well, I don't know if it ever stops, but for every punch you land, you get 99 in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes rejections and you're going to have to do things every day you don't like to do.
Well, I guess this time I got to say, thank God that all those ladies rejected me. Now I've got a very thick skin. I'm used to no. Every time I get a no, I'm like, yes, I'm closer to a yes.
Yeah, and really especially in sales, I tell people if you get rejected 99 times, it doesn't matter because that's the same outcome as if you didn't ask them. It's the only one that matters is the one you got.
Mm-hmm.
You close one deal, those 99 rejections go away real fast.
Yep.
But if you don't take those 100, Canada, there's a famous quote from an ice hockey player, which is, "I've missed 100% of the shots I've never taken." That's basically it. But this is probably one of the biggest things that entrepreneurs should know is that it's not easy. It's a lot of fun. It's really rewarding. But if you're not ready for a fight, just don't start because you'll just lose a bunch of money. You'll just get deep in debt. You'll have a lot of heartache because you won't get there. unless you're ready. Yeah,
Like,
you don't jump into Muhammad Ali not ready to go.
Right.
And it's the same thing.
Now, the fact remains, Jeff, that yes, you got to be prepared. You got to be ready to take those punches. As much as we're scared to take those punches, as entrepreneurs, we got to take those punches. The truth be told, nobody likes taking punches, not even Muhammad Ali, right? How do we deal with those traumas? How do we deal with those punches? And is this a formula you've worked out that can help you keep moving forward? Like, is there anything that you could say to our viewers that could help them, give them that courage to keep moving forward regardless of the punches?
It goes back to just do it.
Right.
All you got to do is keep swinging. How, especially in the early days, the analogy I give is you're out in the ocean and you're treading water and you got two options. You give up or you keep swimming. No matter how tired you are, you just got to keep swimming.
So you keep swimming because you can see
the
finishing line. You can see why you're swimming, right?
Yeah, that's right. And because, like, the way I phrase it for myself, when I get like if I've had a bad week or a bad day, or you just sit there and go, why in the hell am I doing this? And I'm so tired, and I just want to quit. I realize the alternative is worse.
Gotcha.
I don't want like sinking to the bottom for me, or in this case, going back and working for someone else in a job that gives me no fulfillment is worse than keeping swimming.
So, just staying on that point. So basically what I can get it from what Jeff is saying is when you're going into business, you got to have your why. And the reason why you're going into the business, and if you don't do it, what's the alternative? And if I don't succeed in this business, does that mean I'm going to go back to a job that makes me feel depressed? Does that mean I'm going to go back into a workforce that I don't feel inspired in? Like, why? So having a vision board could work. Having a written down goals in terms of what you're trying to achieve. Having something, a goal in terms of who you're trying to help, your community or the family, whatever, why you're doing it, then maybe that can draw some strength, some energy, some encouragement, some inspiration for you to keep, I guess.
The other thing that really works for me is, and this comes from just sales experience. If you give a sales guy a target, an end of the year target, let's say it's $1 million, you got to sell $1 million by the end of the year. That's pretty daunting. But if you give a sales guy, or you give yourself, today I'm going to make 20 cold calls. And by the end of the week, I'm going to schedule 15 meetings. I haven't hit 1 million yet, but every day I feel like I've won. And so what I do is, and as an entrepreneur, you'll always have a list of about 200 things you'd like to do, and you're never going to get to them all. So in order for my sanity, I don't have that 200 list anymore. I stopped that a long time ago. And what I found out was, like, people talk about prioritizing and that. Well, the hard part about prioritizing that 200 thing list is everyone is equally as important. So you end up not doing anything or whatever. So I just pick 5 things every morning, and I like whiteboards. So I put it on my whiteboard. I put 5 things. I do not think about anything other than those 5 things, whether it's, okay, I need to call 10 people. I need to set up this. I need to do this. I need to, call this, organize this, whatever. And at the end of the day, I know I've accomplished those 5 things and I feel good about it.
So what makes you feel good? Because is it you just accomplishing it, or do you put a tick to it? You cross it out?
I erase it.
You erase it.
And the next morning I put 5 more things.
Gotcha.
And it's, I read somewhere once that one of the reasons where society is having a lot of increase in mental health issues and stuff like that is because a lot of us have jobs where there's no start and finish. And the human brain really likes finishing a task. As hard as it is, maybe piling a big pile of wood and making it, you don't like doing it while you're doing it. But at the end, there's a real gratification of when you look at that wood pile and it's all nice and done, or you may not like cleaning the house, but at the end of the day, or at the end when the house is all clean, you feel good. So it's the endorphin rush of just finishing some task. But if I just had a task of 200, that never gets done. I never feel like I'm ever getting it done, because by the time I do 5, I've added 5 more. But if I have that list, at least I know every day I've accomplished something. And that offsets, when you lose a deal, or when, something happens that you're just like, can't believe that, or whatever. Or when if you're anything in the technology, software development is always delayed, and there's this and this, there's bugs, and then it crashes and all this kind of stuff. But if you're always accomplishing things, that's a big way to combat the negative thing. And then the other thing is, even if you do fail in your business, the reality is the world's not going to end. Your kids are still going to love you. It might be hard for a few months or whatever, but there's always a way out. And so put it in perspective of what's really important in your life, and don't let it ruin you. And also, one thing that I've always been good at is I prioritize. I work really hard when it's time to work, and if there's tasks to be done, I'll be up till 3, 4 in the morning. But if something can wait till tomorrow, I go play my drums, or I go play with my kids, or I go sit by the fire and have a few beers with my mates. Do not forget, this is your life. I know a lot of successful entrepreneurs that, even though they're successful and their business is making a lot of money, and they're 50, 60 years old, and you ask them, would you do it again? They go, no way. Because I missed my whole kids growing up. I missed all of these things. I never had any fun because I was in the office, 70, 80 hours a week. Unless that's what you love and you don't care about those other things, well, go ahead. But you're going to take punches, but just step back, go have some fun.
Right. So basically, prioritize what's important to you. Is family, try to prioritize them. Now, I do have another question in terms of mentors. What sort of advice has mentors given you that shaped your life?
I've had so many different jobs in so many different industries, some in business, some very blue collar jobs, like all over the place. I've learned a little bit from everyone. I go back to my dad, and one thing that he instilled in my brothers and I, and that was, you work really hard, and you keep going until till the job is done. But when that job is done, make sure you have some fun and a laugh. And when my dad turned about 50, he made a conscious decision that he would not do business anymore with anyone that he couldn't have a laugh with. He wouldn't sell to them, and he wouldn't buy from them. Didn't care anymore. It didn't matter anymore. He just wanted to have fun in his life. And he's like, well, why can't my business be fun too? And the other little piece of advice that I got from my mom and dad was, surround yourself with positive people, because they'll bring you up. If you surround yourself with negative people, they'll bring you down.
That's quite powerful. I've heard the saying that, if you hang around, 5 negative people, you're wrong. There's 6 negative people, because you're going to join them too as well. Now, for those of you that are not fortunate enough, like Jeff Burger, growing up around mentors with father and mom, being a mentor that inspired him all through his journey, would you encourage people to go seek out mentors to help them, fast track this particular process for them? If they don't have that in their household, if they didn't grow up in a home where they've got entrepreneurs around them.
I think everybody individually should do what makes sense for them. If I'm more in the school of, I don't need a single mentor. What I love, and I guess what I've loved in my life, is I've always had large networks of friends and people that I get along with and who are happy to have a conversation with me. So I don't have a single mentor, but if I have a legal question well, these are the three people I will ask. If I just need to lean on someone and just bitch for a while, well, these are the friends or people I call. If I need marketing advice, I know I can go to these people. So just surround yourself with people who know, and just be like, I've always thought the smartest people in the room are the ones who are willing to admit they don't know something and then go ask someone. Like I've always had, maybe it's based on a little bit of insecurity. I always just thought everybody knew more than I did. So I always just ask questions, and I've never been ashamed of asking. Like, to be honest, where I learned that probably the greatest was as a commercial fisherman, when you're out in the middle of the ocean and literally, if you make a mistake, people could die. And so even though I was being, even though I was the green guy on the boat, and I was taking the most abuse and all that kind of stuff, still, when the nets were in the water, even though I knew I was going to get a spray, I asked, because I knew if I got it wrong, the consequences are huge. And I just learned, well, actually, the ramifications of asking and getting a spray is a lot less than trying to figure out yourself and making a huge mistake. And that's in business as well. Nobody, I've never fired anyone for asking me a question.
You've never fired anyone from asking you a question like that.
That's right.
I don't think I know any CEO for firing anyone from asking a question.
No, but if somebody but there's been times where I wanted to fire somebody because they thought they knew, and because of their ego, caused me a lot of grief.
That's quite interesting. You answered that question without you even actually knowing the answer. You guys, mentorship is not just like having someone right there. Mentorship could be people alive, even people dead. What I mean by people dead, there are so many great people that have written books that could be your inspiration mentors. If you don't have people around you. Surround yourself with good people. You've got networking platforms too as well that you can go to, and from there you can find people that you can bring into your circle that you think that can add value to you as well. So, just going out there, finding people that you can ask questions. Don't be scared to ask questions. According to what you say, you're not gonna get fired. People are not gonna start avoiding you, but just ask questions. And the other cool thing too as well, I also wanted to say was there was a day I got a message out of the blue from someone on LinkedIn. I don't know this person from anywhere, just messaged me asking me a bunch of questions in regards to entrepreneurship. So I've got a question to you. Do you have anyone that you inspire to look to be like? Have you ever decided to reach out to them and ask a question in terms of how did they achieve what they currently achieve, to get some sort of advice? If you haven't done that, do that. According to Jeff, ask question. In most cases, what I've realized, most successful entrepreneurs do want to help.
I've found people, business people, are like fishermen. They claim they want to be secret, but I love fishing. I've never met a fisherman that won't tell you exactly where you fish or what you should try and what you should do, because everybody loves talking about what they're passionate about. And it's the same in business. You ask somebody, they'll tell you. That's why there are so many networking groups and that. And one of the other kind of related topic or related comments I have on this is, I've had a long-standing belief or long-standing philosophy that anyone who wants to talk to you, you talk to them, because you never know where that conversation is going. Like, I know a lot of people who, they qualify their LinkedIn and people and all this. Now, absolutely not. Especially as a new entrepreneur, every single person you can talk to them, because you never know what they're doing next, what they're up to, who their cousin is. I've sold so many deals by going into a meeting thinking, I'm just kind of, this is not going anywhere. But finding out an opportunity while I'm having that conversation that I never dreamed would happen. And, that's biggest advice to a new entrepreneur: talk to everybody.
So basically, don't make assumptions.
Don't
Just
make assumption.
whenever you've got any opportunity to talk about your business, go in there, talk about it. If you're in a pub somewhere, whatever, or someone's giving you the opportunity, don't look down in terms of how they're dressed or whatever,
Absolutely.
or thinking, oh, this person bum on the street. Just talk about it. You just don't know who they know.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting. You said this also in business. I've also had a similar situation happen to me. I had a client call me, and this has got to do with one of my finance business. He said to me that, listen, hey, I need advice in regards to certain things. I currently do have $200 saved up at the moment. Like $200, like what are we talking about? This wasn't that long ago, like 5 years ago. $200 saved up. I'm thinking about buying a property worth $500,000. Now, most people would automatically go, this guy's just a waste of time, right? Like you've got $200, you shouldn't be talking about, buying a house. You should be talking about, can I afford to buy a meal tomorrow? But I took the time, I had a conversation with this gentleman. This guy, 2 months later, referred his uncle to me that ended up doing a deal with me that I made a commission of $70,000.
Yeah, that's a perfect example.
Right? So when you said that, I just remembered that particular scenario. I'm like, you're 100% spot on. Do not ever just make any assumption. You just don't know who they know. So wherever you can help. That's what you got into business for in the first place, to help people anyway, right? So help, give advice. At the same time, yes, I know time is valuable. But give advice when you can, based on your knowledge and experience. And you just never know. You just got to keep casting those nets.
Yeah, your time is valuable.
Yep.
But there's nothing more important than talking to people and getting your name out there and having those conversations. Nothing else trumps that.
Yep. Jeff, also, I did notice that you've got a massive following on LinkedIn. How many contacts have you got on LinkedIn?
I don't know, just shy of 13,000 or just over 13,000.
13,000. That's a massive amount. Like, if you don't mind me asking, how long did that take you to build up that network of people?
I mistakenly ignored LinkedIn till about 2.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to realize that it's like when we were talking about sales and that, it is a very, very effective way, if you do it right, to be able to connect with people that are potential customers or potential partners or something positive for your business. So yeah, about 2.5 years is.
As LinkedIn and other social platform made any impact on your business?
Yeah, everything I do now. Even our conversation has started on LinkedIn.
That's right.
Yeah. So there's nothing in my calendar right now that didn't start on LinkedIn.
So what would be your advice to up-and-coming entrepreneurs when it comes to social platform, LinkedIn, whichever? What would be your advice?
If you can only pick one platform to focus on, make it LinkedIn.
Right.
Because LinkedIn is where business people are. I had someone criticize me the other day saying, oh, you promote your business too much on LinkedIn. It's like, well, it goes to that 99 people I don't care. Like, it's like, I'm not here. I got lots of friends and family and stuff like that. I'm not here to do anything but do business. And I like when people sell to me because I don't have to find them.
Yep.
They find me and they go, hey, like my lead generators all reached out to me on LinkedIn because I know they're good because they reached out to me.
Yep.
We had this massive event in LA that had 30 million views. And it all started because somebody reached out to me from London, and it was 10 o'clock at night and I was exhausted and I wanted to go to bed. And I went, nope, remember your rule, talk to anyone. In 15 minutes, we were like, holy shit, we got to work together. And then about 3 months later, a guy in LA reaches out to me, completely separate thing. He tells me about same thing. Well, I don't even know why I'm talking to this guy, but who knows where it leads. And end up talking to him. And it's like, 15 minutes into that conversation, it's like, holy shit, we got this event happening in London. We need to move it to LA. And we made that decision in 15 minutes, and we moved everything to LA because logistically we could. And, and he ends up being, he's got 29 platinum albums as a producer. Huge connection for me. Really super great guy. We've become really good friends because both drummers and just so many different things outside the business thing. And we had a great event in LA, all because I was willing to have a conversation with someone that just reached out to me on LinkedIn. The biggest advice I have, do not let anyone else manage your inbox. Mm-hmm. I read every single message that comes into my inbox, because why else if I'm not willing to look at what people are doing and what they're about and willing to talk to me, why am I doing this? It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's like outsource other things. Lead generation and doing business, that's what you should be doing.
Love it. Love it. So lead generation, doing business, that's what you should be doing. And basically make sure you build your social platform, right?
Yeah.
Jeff, it's been quite remarkable having you on the CEO Mentorship podcast show. What's the one last advice? It could be anything whatsoever that you can leave to the viewers that they can take away and start implementing today. One piece of advice.
Have fun.
Have fun.
No, I'm dead serious. My older brother came down to visit me, Canada, here to Australia, and we were sitting there having a beer, and he goes, "Life doesn't have to be this hard." And my older brother was the CEO of a company that sold for a couple $100 million. He said to me when that happened, he goes, "I'm not any happier than I was before that happened." It's not the money that makes you happy. So just enjoy your life. Life doesn't have to be this hard. We should all be having way more fun. There's enough food and water and everything on this earth. We shouldn't be fighting. We should be just having a great time.
Wow. Guys, you heard that. If you're one of those that are fortunate enough to have discovered what really turns you on, what really makes you excited, you've discovered your passion. You've heard it from Jeff. Chase your passion. You've got this life to live. Don't worry about the rest. The rest will kind of work themselves out. Most people, unfortunately, come through this earth. They never really discover that spark. And you have. Don't worry about it. Just go for it. Have fun. And the universe has a funny way of coming around. And it just happens. Again, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Jeff, it's a pleasure having you.
Yeah, it was great fun. Thanks, Colin.
You think you're going to come back again?
Yeah, absolutely. As long as you ask.
I love that. I love that. Thank you, guys. Hope you did learn one or two things from this. See you in the next CEO Mentorship podcast. Bye for now.